intertwined. Sense from mine to yours, make me a melody I muttered mousily. Speak your prose with none to please, weigh your elbows on my knees, as uttered several times before, rhyme with your truth and metaphor swore. To be drawn to you is a kindness, steadily strumming just to remind us. Give me a word, hearken. Perfect, hearken, hearken for a while. Hearken, hearken for a while. We could sway above the meadows as our riddles rest beneath, as our verses hide away. We could say, let it be. Does your heart too whistle a wonder if the past is wet with the future? Is the now a chance or a passage only to be walked upon? And if that is what they are after, solely to foretell or to remember, it is us who are left above betting, borrowing breath followed not by an ending. La da da da, la da da da, la da da da. Forget your voice, forget your mind, but when they find a way to wander, we will let it all. Hearken, hearken for a while. Hearken, hearken for a while. We could sway above the meadows as our riddles rest beneath. I will listen, I will listen, I will let it be. I will ba da 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 Hearken, hearken, oh hearken, 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 hearken for a while. Hearken, hearken for a while.
Hello. I don't know why my other mic isn't working, but it's not, so we're switching mics. 1 second. What a great start to the stream. I got myself all ready, but things had other plans, so hold on a second while I sort that out. How's everyone doing today? Hope that everyone's having a good day. Oh gosh, what's supposed to happen? There we go. I have attached my lav mic to a light to create a static mic, because that seemed like the best way to do it. But apparently leaving my mic there overnight wasn't a good idea. How does this sound? That should work okay. I'll put everything away now. Hello! There we go. Okay. Now that that is sorted, please let me know if the audio is bad or if I am reading too quickly or too slowly, because I haven't done something like this before, and I don't know, I want it to work, so yay! I'm glad it sounds good. I'm glad it sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Well, should we get to some reading then? On the off chance that you are watching the stream and you're not familiar with what Legend of Exorcism is, Legend of Exorcism is a danmei. I would probably, in kind of Western genre terms, say it's like got a historical fantasy vibe to it. Lots of found family shenanigans, cool mythology and lore, great comic timing, and a sweet and spicy romance. Yeah, the first few volumes don't have an age rating to them, but from like the fourth volume it is rated mature, so if you are here and you are under the age of 18, I would probably recommend that you come back later on, because you'll probably enjoy the book more, and there are some very good reasons that it's rated mature in the later books. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, so I'm just gonna be doing some reading and some chatting. Apologies in advance for my pronunciation of the names. I try to get the pronunciation as correct as I can, taken from the guide at the back and what I've heard from the Donghua and the audio drama. But it's not going to be perfect by any means, so yeah, apologies for that. Unless anyone has any questions or any thoughts or anything, I will begin. Firstly, let's just look at how beautiful this illustration is in the first bit, because it's so pretty and I love it so much. Okay. This book starts with a preface from the author, which I love because you kind of get a bit of an insight into the author's mind a bit before you start reading, which I think is really cool. So I'm going to start with that and then move on to the actual story. That was what else I was going to say. Feel free to like talk in chat. I will be stopping to chat and things. If you have things you want to say that like have a spoiler in them, try and keep spoilers to a minimum, but if you do have things you want to say, please put a spoiler and then for which part of the story it is a spoiler for before you say the thing, so people have a chance of skipping the spoiler. I myself have only read up to volume 5, because the end of volume 5, because I've been reading with like the Seven Seas publication, so I don't know how the story ends, but yeah, we will see how that all goes. Okay, so if everybody is sitting comfortably, then I will begin. Preface. I am thrilled that, 7 years after its publication, Legend of Exorcism has arrived in North America with an English translation. In chronological order of publication, this book is the first entry in the Exorcist series. Its story takes place in Tang Dynasty China. The deities and demons of ancient Eastern mythology. The deities and demons of ancient Eastern legends take the stage in this historical setting, situated around the time of the An Lushan Rebellion. Nearly 1300 years ago, the Tang dynasty began its turn from a flourishing empire into abject decline. The nation was set alight by the flames of war until remnants fell under the disjointed authority of regional warlords. Thereafter, such prosperity was rarely seen again. Like a great tower on the verge of collapse, there is an unspeakable beauty in the tragedy of this moment in history. The poet Bai Ju Yi used it as inspiration to compose the epic poem, Song of Everlasting Regret. The line, "He searched the dirt beneath Marway's slope in vain, finding only a desolate grave and not her face of jade," tells the story of how the nation's internal strife prompted the emperor's flight with his noble consort and ultimately resulted in the death of his beloved young Yuan at Marway's slope. The exorcist's maxim in Legend of Exorcism comes from a poem written by the Tang Dynasty literary giant Li Bai. It represents one of my favourite viewpoints on life and death during the time that I was writing the Exorcist series. Nothing lasts forever. The myriad things and all living beings are only guests on the shore of the winding river of time. Every feast will come to an end, and flourishing scenes of abundance will one day be things of the past, never to return. But they will leave many beautiful memories we can revisit time and again. Welcome to Great Tang's Department of Demonic Exorcism. Backed by Lee Gwynnian's song, let us do as a certain giant bird said. All together now, go to that vast land of mortals. You won't regret it. Fei Tian Yi Zhang, brackets, arise Zhang. There we go, that's the preface. I love that you kind of get to have a preface at the beginning of the book, and you get to like have a bit of like Fei Tian's thoughts on the book and some like cultural, like historical like context as well. It's kind of strange now having read part of the book though, because like some of the characters or, you know, happenings referenced here either, you know, happen in the book or I'm waiting to happen in the book. And I love how deep it already gets, like about the idea of kind of the impermanence of life, and I do love the way that weaves into the story in quite a light way most of the time. So yeah. Okay, now ready to begin Book 1, Vulpine Beauty. Chapter 1, The Three Sage Kings of Yaojin Palace. Flag I will be showing up very soon, Ghost. I longed to cross the Yellow River. Yeah, same. It's like so like poignant and like, oh, you know, we're starting on like, it was funny when I first read it, I was like, I came here for like the kind of like I don't know, the chaos and the mystery, and it's like, oh, we're already getting deep. We're only in the preface. We're only getting deep into this. Okay. I longed to cross the Yellow River, yet my way is choked with ice. I wish to scale the Tai-hung mountains, yet the snow prevents my rise. Lines from the poem, The Hard Road by the Tang Dynasty poet Li Bai. There we go. The sky stretched as far as the eye could see, the perpetually snow-capped peaks of the Tai-hung mountains merging with the clouds at the horizon. This was a place beyond the reach of ordinary birds. Only a few white gyrfalcons braved the bitter winds to wheel high above, a handful of black specks scattered across the deep blue canopy of heaven. A great bird clutched a cloth-wrapped bundle in its talons as it swept through cloud banks, drawing closer with each beat of its outstretched wings. Bathed in the last glow of twilight, the creature's feathers gleamed liquid gold as it swooped toward a mountain encircled by peaks and enshrouded in mist. The clouds parted to reveal a resplendent palace complex sitting atop its summit. The outer walls glowed red beneath the rays of the setting sun, as if they had been dyed by vermilion flames. Snow did not gather within the palace complex, as it did atop the peaks. Instead, it was filled with verdant parasol trees. Beneath the dazzling sun, it felt like midsummer. Now, as an evening breeze drifted past, the leaves of the trees rustled, shadows dancing in the lingering twilight as if drawing open the curtains on a majestic dreamscape within this mountaintop residence. The great bird landed on a platform outside the palace's main hall. With a cry that made the mountains shudder, the creature shook out its shimmering plumage in a dramatic flourish, before gathering its feathers into itself. As the plumes dispersed, the figure of a man appeared. He had a towering stature, deep-set features, and pitch-black eyes that glinted gold in the dim light. He wore no clothes on his upper body, showing off a well-defined torso and wheat-coloured skin. On his lower half, he wore a regal black chun, and there's a note that says, indigenous clothing of the Central Plains, similar to a wraparound skirt. Yeah, where was I? There we go. With gold embroidery that danced in the wind. With his cloth bundle in hand, he slowly made his way toward the main hall. The palace was a flurry of activity, young men and women coming and going in all directions, Upon seeing the newcomer, they hastily fell to their knees. "Your Highness, King Chingshong!" The man called Chingshong strode through the tree-lined courtyard to the main hall, his long black tune fluttering behind him. Night had quietly fallen, yet the lamps within the main hall remained unlit. Beneath the scattered light of the moon and stars stood 3 thrones upon a dais, 2 of which were empty. The centre seat was occupied by a man whose hair and clothes were both a dazzling shade of red. Even in the room's crepuscular light, his hair blazed like a flame, and his royal regalia gleamed a coppery gold, like rosy clouds drifting across the sky at dawn. Fiery tail feathers trailed from his belt to the ground, and his robes were draped loosely over his shoulders, revealing the fair skin and powerful muscles of his bare torso. There we go. There he is. Yes, I love his glittery eyeshadow in the Donghua. I love that that's just canon. Just putting on the eyeliner, the eyeshadow in the morning. I'm gonna be the prettiest girl at the party as I sit in my mountaintop residence and look imposing. Wait, did they both have, or was that just Chingshong? I'm forgetting now. But yeah, I remember Chingshong's eyeliner. That was eyeshadow. That was really cool. At the sound of footsteps, the man lifted his head and met Chingshong's eyes. He was the king of this palace, the ruler of this snowy domain and its vast sky. Few in the world knew that this stately man's name was Chongming. Nearly 2 centuries had flown by, dynasties had risen and fallen in the divine land in that time, and his fearsome reputation had long since been lost to history. Chongming had a handsome face, with brows sharp as blades and a countenance that inspired both fear and awe in all who looked upon him, apart from his adopted son, who just causes chaos, regardless of how intimidating he looks. Yes, your guy is here, your problematic guy. A burn scar reached up to the side of his neck, ending just below his ear. After a lengthy silence, Chingshong finally spoke. "Kongshuan is dead. He left behind an orphan son. I'm leaving him with you to raise." "How did he die?" Chongming asked coldly. Chingshong slowly shook his head, and a dark silence settled over the hall. "His offspring with a human? I'll do no such thing," Chongming said, voice flat. "Shishin Cliff is out back in the rear mountains. Go find somewhere to toss it." Chingshong dropped to one knee and laid down the bundle in his arms. The moment the cloth touched the ground, it began to expand and unfurl, the lotus patterns embroidered on its 4 corners glowing faintly until the bundle opened to reveal a child lying curled up on his side. The boy was dressed in a tattered linen robe, his thin chest rising and falling with each of his shallow breaths. His features were delicate, and his little hand clutched something, an object of utmost importance, if the way he curled his body around it was any indication. "By human reckoning, he should be about 4 years old," Chingshong said. Chongming gazed down at the child in silence. The boy twitched slightly in discomfort as Chingshong picked him up. "He looks just like his dad did as a child," he added. He walked up the steps of the dais, coming to stand before Chongming with the boy in his arms. "Look at his eyes," he said quietly. "His brows." "I told you to kill it," Chongming repeated. Chingshong tried to hand the child to Chongming, but Chongming refused to take him. Chingshong set the boy in Chongming's lap instead. The child shifted restlessly, as if about to wake from his deep sleep. Feeling the warmth of Chongming's firm chest, he unconsciously pressed closer and fisted a tiny hand in the man's robe. The object in his hand slid from his grip. It was a deep green peacock feather, fashioned out of jade. "Give him a name," Chingshong said, stepping away from the throne. "I'm leaving." "Where are you going?" Chongming asked, his voice frigid. If you leave him here with me, I'll kill him the next time I remember that woman. Do as you like. Qingzhong turned to Chongming and took several steps backward. Di Renjie is on his last breath. Yao have slowly overtaken the human realm, and Mara's resurrection is fast approaching. I must learn the truth about Kong Xuan's death. I'll be going now. Qingzhong took a flying leap, shook out his feathers, and transformed once again into that great black bird. With the thunderous beat of his wings and a resonant cry, he soared into the night sky. Just finish this bit. The child startled awake at Qingzhong's shriek, and the jade feather slid from Chongming's lap and fell to the ground with a bright tinkling sound, before tumbling down the steps of the dais. Glancing down, the child found that he was clutching at Chongming's robes. He looked up once more, meeting the man's eyes. A hot teardrop fell onto the child's face. He reached out, puzzled, and touched Chongming's cheek, wiping away the man's tears. Timidly, the child asked, "Who are you?" We have an illustration. Yay. Yeah, he did really say yeet that child off the mountain. He is the dad who doesn't want a cat and then instantly becomes best friends with the cat. He didn't want the child, but now the child is very precious to him because he doesn't know how to communicate. Yeah, literally. He's like, yeah, Qingzhong is just like, yeah, no, so you're the dad now. I'm off to go investigate. Yeah, he is so hot. Like, damn. Gotta love the fire daddy. Okay, now we are switching perspective to somewhere else. And I completely forgot this bit happened until I looked back at it recently and I was like, huh, that's an important bit of, context and foreshadowing that I forgot existed. In Hebei, near Yu Prefecture Terrace, blood-red maple blossoms danced in the breeze as far as the eye could see. A scholarly man and a beautiful woman stood before the grand building atop the terrace and leaned over the balustrade to gaze at the magnificent landscape laid out below. Struck by the vastness of heaven and earth, I shed bitter tears, I stand alone, the man recited offhandedly. Boyu truly was a genius of unbelievable proportions. Waxing poetic all of a sudden? The woman behind him asked, her voice measured. Now that Di Renjie is dead, there is no one to stop the Yao from overrunning the human realm. There's no need to rush, the man muttered. Who knows what cards that old fart still has up his sleeve? Is that referring to... Who's that referring to? Who... Is that referring to Chongming? I don't know. Yes. Yeah, we do get less of his chest on show in these illustrations than in the Donghua. Where was... Yeah. How go the preparations with Mara's vessel? The vessel is willing this time. The integration process has gone exceptionally well. Still, we can't be certain until after the observation period. But aren't you worried about the problems that might arise from killing Kong Xuan? If the master of the Taiyang Mountains rallies his strength and enters the fray... He would have come ages ago if he had the power to do so, the man said with a laugh. Fortunes rise and fall with the inevitability of the tides, and Yaojin Palace has long been on the decline. Chongming is afflicted with fire venom. He wouldn't have retreated into solitude 200 years ago otherwise. No, as things stand, Chang'an is ours to rule. They could hear the sounds of music in the distance. The man stepped closer and ran his fingers through the hair at the woman's temples, studying her beautiful face. Let's go, he murmured. His Majesty awaits. It's so interesting reading that, having context for, like, the rest of it, of, like, knowing who, I'm pretty sure I know who those people are. And, yeah, I love that you get that little insight into it, and I'm so surprised that I completely, forgot that happened. That we get, like, a full-on insight and, like, lore into that. That's cool. Yeah. Okay. Is everyone ready for our chaotic protagonist to arrive in full force? Again, let me know if the mic or the audio is different. Fun fact, I have the audio in my ears, so it sounds okay to me, but I don't know. Okay. 12 years later, in Yaojing Palace atop the Taihung Mountains, brilliant midsummer sunlight spilled through the leaves of the parasol trees, casting dappled shadows that swept across the ground like passing meteors. A youth as beautiful as a jade sculpture perched on the branch of a parasol tree, mixing a bowl of white pollen. He wore a short, sleeveless crimson tunic adorned with embroidery, beneath a green robe with a patterned border tied off at his waist. His clever eyes darted periodically toward the main hall's open window as he worked. Within the palace, Chongming reclined on a couch amid the fluttering gauze curtains, his face turned toward the chain of sunlight mountains in the distance. He is literally a cat. Yes, he is a perfect cinnamon roll. Also, can we just take note of the fact that it says his clever eyes? He has clever eyes. I think that some of his companions need to read that description in later volumes. He has clever eyes. Come on, guys. Okay. Where are we? His face turned toward the chain of sunlight mountains in the distance. Hongjun! Shh! The youth named Hongjun glanced down at the base of the tree and lifted a finger to his lips. The speaker was a Yaoguai, a being that had absorbed and refined the energy of the natural world through the process of spiritual cultivation until it gained a higher level of consciousness. More specifically, a carp piao. He had the torso of a large fish, nearly 2 feet in length. I feel like okay. Is that how big? I don't know. And the hairy legs of a man, which allowed him to walk on land. His arms, which emerged from behind his pectoral fins, were presently wrapped around the trunk of the parasol tree. The creature looked exceptionally bizarre as he shouted up at the boy. We've got such a good description of him here. I feel like really wanted to allow us to picture him. Like, okay, brief thing. Why don't we get a description of Hongjun's hair color? We never, as far as I'm aware, get a proper description of his hair color. The closest we get is his brows being referred to as like umber later in the story. But it's like, what color is his hair? Who knows? Literally, yeah, Chongming will just sleep. He's like, I'm the king, I'ma just sleep. It's probably a lot easier than being an emperor in the human world. Yeah, it's that is a big fish, right? It's like, why are you that big, sir? Guess been cultivating for that long, get some perks, right? Okay, now I have to work out what voice I'm doing for Jazzy Long. Okay, let's go. Voice will probably change. Get down from there! A stream of bubbles poured from his mouth as he spoke. The fishtail swished his tail from side to side. You don't know how to fly. If you fall and hurt yourselves, I'll be in for a beating from His Majesty. Hongjun finished mixing his pollen and said quietly, Dad's been sitting there all day. He refuses to see anyone and loses his temper whenever anyone goes in. He's waiting for someone, the Carpiao responded. His Majesty's in a foul mood today. Who's he waiting for? Hongjun asked. As the Carpiao hummed and hawed, Hongjun hopped down from the tree and darted around the side of the main hall. One after another, the servants bowed as he passed, calling, Your Highness, in greeting, to which Hongjun replied with a nod. When he reached the back of the hall, he tossed out a grappling hook and swung himself up onto the palace roof. Kneeling down, he shuffled along the roof in silence until he was right above the spot where Chongming was resting. Here we go! Quietly, he lifted a glazed roof tile, picked up his bowl of medicine, and blew gently on the contents within. The medicinal powder seemed to take on a life of its own, shimmering with white light as it floated down into the main hall. Outside among the parasol trees, the carp turned aside to watch through the entryway. Chongming was asleep, his face still turned toward the gleaming peaks of the Taihang Mountains, the burn on his neck flashing with a red light. The pollen drifted into the room, where it sparkled around Chongming like a river of stars, before slowly settling against the scarlet burn mark, forming a white layer of frost. The carp's open mouth gaped wider. Chongming inhaled the pollen as he steadily breathed in and out, still asleep. Then his eyes flew open. An odd expression came over his face. "Success!" Hongjun cheered to himself, jumping down from the roof. He ran around the hall to watch alongside the carp as Chongming scrambled to his feet, his eyes darting frantically around the room. His face twitched as he glanced toward the entrance of the palace. Overjoyed, Hongjun was about to call out to his father when Chongming abruptly turned his head away. Achoo! Chongming gave an earth-shattering sneeze. A fireball the size of a horse cart hurtled from the main hall toward the unbroken chain of peaks beyond, exploding against the mountains with a thunderous boom. Right, I'm gonna scroll up and catch up on the chat. Ooh, there we go. Yeah, he's a mood. Yeah, I feel like they made him look way too cool in the Donghua. It's like he looks like some kind of, I don't know, like primordial being. He does not, like, he's not that cool. Yeah, never wake up a napping cat, especially not with sneezing stuff. Yes, Chongming is definitely a cat. He is like a grumpy cat. Like, when I was reading this bit, I remember like noting like the transition from like you've got this beautiful description of like the pollen like dancing into the room, and you know, and then it's like, okay, Chongming's looking a bit odd, and then it's just like slapstick comedy, and I was like, I wonder if this is going to be an indicator of the tone for the rest of the series. And my gosh, was it. The amount of times when it's like beautiful flowing description followed up by random unhinged comedy. Honestly, that is one of my favorite tropes in a story, so I was hooked from very near the start. Yeah, he could never handle hay fever. Okay, we've nearly got to the end of the first chapter, so let's keep going to see the effects of Chongming's sneeze. Yeah, he would, like, imagine like Hongjun tries to take him on like a nice hike, and then he just gets set off by the hay fever and just starts an entire forest fire. Honestly, I could see that being canon. It's just unhinged enough to be canon for the story. The servants of Yaojin Palace shouted in alarm as the ground bucked violently beneath their feet. An earthquake! Achoo! Another fireball smashed into the white jade pillars of the main hall. Hongjun squawked and grabbed the carp Yao, making a break for the courtyard where he dove headfirst into the pond. Achoo! 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 Chongming sneezed thrice in rapid succession. Fireballs erupted all around him, igniting the parasol trees in the courtyard. It's just so funny. Oh. Okay, I can do this. Igniting the parasol trees in the courtyard and engulfing Yaojin Palace in a sea of flames. Help! Fire! A fireball landed in the courtyard's pond. Ouch! Hot! Hot! The carp Yao yelped. Hongjun sprang out of the pond with the carp in his arms, scurrying around beneath the flaming parasol trees like a rat. After tossing the carp over the palace wall, he turned and raced back to Chongming. Like, this scene is just so ridiculous. Like, what do you mean? He gave his dad a sneezing attack accidentally, and it led to the entire palace being burnt to the ground. And just the vision of Hongjun just, like, leaping out of the pond and then eating Zhao Zilong over a wall before rushing back to the source of the fire. What? Ching Chong just turns up and is like, what happened? Again? I need more detail of the other shenanigans that Hong Jun creates, because they are crazy. Okay, let's see if I can actually properly get through this. Where are we? Dad! Hong Jun burst into the main hall, which was already ablaze. Chongming shot Hong Jun a glance, his hand cupped over his nose and mouth. Dad, he began. I just wanted to help. Chongming turned away, sucking in a sharp breath. Unable to hold back any longer, he sneezed explosively. Flames licked at the sky, enveloping the main hall in a sea of fire and surrounding Hong Jun in the conflagration. Chongming darted forward and dragged Hong Jun into his chest, protecting the youth in the circle of his arms. A strident phoenix cry pierced the heavens as a pair of shimmering multicolored wings burst from Chongming's back, glowing with orange light as they closed over Chongming and Hong Jun to shield them from the flames. Their clothes burned away, leaving them naked, but Chongming was unscathed. As a phoenix, his divine powers of self-protection allowed him to emerge from the blazing inferno without harm. Hong Jun poked his head out and looked around. Lit by the true fire of Samadhi, the main hall of Yaojin Palace burned with unquenchable brightness. Birds filled the sky, arriving from all directions. Like a waterfall flowing in reverse, they rushed up from the slopes below to douse Yaojin Palace in snow from the Taihung Mountains. The blizzard hissed as it melted, smothering the flames in an instant. Yes, he is a bird. Literally, it's like when I said explosive, I didn't realize you were gonna burn the whole thing down. He did project Hong Jun. I also completely missed the fact that like it just, their clothes got ruined as well. Like everything else and their clothes is gone. Like, okay, I guess that makes sense if there's a fire. Okay. 2 hours later, Hong Jun stood outside the study, his face still streaked with soot. Hong Jun yelped as the ruler smacked his palm. How many times is this now? Chongming had changed into casual clothes and was holding the ruler in his hand. Explain yourself, he said coldly. Hong Jun faltered. Chongming brought the ruler down once more, and the youth cried out again in pain. Are you so desperate to burn to death? Chongming demanded furiously. Stand outside in the front courtyard till nightfall, or there'll be no dinner for you. The third time Chongming swung the ruler, he used such force that tears sprang to Hong Jun's eyes. Go face the wall, Chongming snapped. Hong Jun could only hang his head, trudge over to the courtyard, and stand facing the wall. The Carpiao scratched his scales and scurried after him. He squatted down beside Hong Jun and collected some melted snow to drink. Chongming was fit to be tied. To think that such a disaster should befall him when he was simply lying around at home. Stalking out of the palace, he raised 2 fingers to his lips and whistled. Birds rose up from all directions to carry away the burnt branches and broken bricks that had been crushed under the weight of the snow. I warned you not to be so reckless, the Carpiao said beside Hong Jun. How many times has it been? Your dad was already in a bad mood today. How could I know he would sneeze? Hong Jun protested. I spent 3 years scouring the mountain for that snow lotus pollen. The physicians have said it 100 times, the Carpiao responded. There's no antidote for fire venom, so stop meddling. Hong Jun went silent. After only a few minutes of standing, he began shifting from foot to foot in boredom. He examined the scorch marks on the courtyard wall, where the streaks of ash resembled a landscape painting. Hong Jun reached out and rubbed his fingers over the surface, smoothing the silhouette of the mountain until he was satisfied. The result looked rather like a painting rendered in splashed ink style. Your dad's going to scold you again for getting your hands dirty, the Carpiao warned. I'll wash them before I eat, Hong Jun hastily responded. Black smoke was still rising over the main hall late in the afternoon. The lingering warmth of the embers had melted the snow, leaving puddles everywhere among the wreckage. Taking in the scene, Chongming felt like weeping, but couldn't quite muster the tears. Avian screech split the air as a great black bird, draped in golden light, winged its way through the Taihang Mountains. Upon landing, Qingshong transformed and walked through the courtyard, gaping in shock. What happened? Qingshong asked a young attendant, dismayed. Was there an attack? The attendant dared not answer, saying only that His Majesty Chongming awaited him in the side hall. Qingshong turned and strode over. Qingshong! Hongjun rushed toward him with a joyous cry. With a flying leap, he hung Qingshong around the neck and clambered onto the man's back. That is the end of chapter 1, so I think we might stop here. I'm sorry it's not a longer stream today, but I can feel myself getting tired because I'm not used to reading for this amount of time. But I love that Hongjun is just like, he's like, you're here! Give me a piggyback! Immediately. Yeah, that's a good... Wait, what? Yeah, that's a good point. Why, like, their hair has plot armor, apparently. Their clothes may be burned, oh no. But their hair is intact, because that's how that works. Yeah, I forgot that scene too. Both, Hongjun and Li Jinglong have, some trauma and experience from being beaten by their guardians. Yeah, don't hurt the sweet boy. Like, get answers before you make decisions and don't beat the child, sir. Yes, I agree. Collectively adopt Hongjun. I mean, that's essentially what the department did. It's like, you're ours now. Pat, pat, pat. Here comes the best cool uncle. Yes, Qingshong is the best cool uncle. Like, I feel like Chongming must be so... I don't know. I feel like Chongming could be so mad at him. It's like, you get to show up and look cool and bring him gifts from the human world. I have to deal with him setting the palaces on fire indirectly through making me sneeze. This is not fair. You should have to do the childcare, not me all the time. Although Chongming doesn't do that much. Hongjun mostly just runs wild on the mountains. I need art of Hongjun as a mountain goat. Okay. Chapter 2 is Shadows of the Past, so I'm very excited to read that, and maybe I'll be able to read for longer and get a bit further next time. But yeah, how did everyone find that? Thoughts? Constructive criticism? Ideas? Oh gosh, my mic is falling apart. Honestly pleased with this rig though, the fact that I've managed to get it to sit here and work, even though it did break at first, and I was like, here we go, I'm ready to do this. Nope, I'm not. My mic is not working. I'm also surprised how useful I found it, like, having it in my ears, so I can hear everything I'm saying slightly delayed. I know for a lot of people that is very off-putting. Apparently for me though, it works, so that's good. I need to work out voices for characters, because, yeah. It's so fun to read, and it's been so fun reading it. Thank you all for hanging out in chat. You've been great and made me laugh, and yeah, I love hanging out and chatting about this story. I'm hoping to stream sometime in the next week to do more reading. I'll probably do a general stream, probably to make trinkets, because I have going to Fantasy Forest in a few weeks and I need more trinkets. But I'm hoping to stream again reading this in the next week as well. So I will post either schedule stream or post and be like, this is when I'm doing it, and then just go live. But yeah, thank you all for hanging out and bringing the best vibes. I have had a great time. Been wanting to do this for ages, and now it's happened, so let's go. Yeah, it's been a good vibe. So yeah, thank you for hanging out. I hope you all have a great rest of your days and have some of the whimsy of Legend of Exorcism, and not be angst. Okay, I will see you all later. Bye!